This is For the Creators. Welcome back to For the Creators, where it's our job to dissect creativity and the minds behind the things we love. Today we have a snapshot episode focusing on the London-based community group called the Manhood Academy. The Manhood Academy for Boys is a community-based charitable program committed to offering young men between the ages of 8 to 12 preteens, 13 to 19 teens, and 19 to 25 years, life-changing transformational workshops. This program is 100% focused on helping our young people make the challenging transition from adolescence to adulthood. The unique Rites of Passage program is a fusion of mentoring and transformational coaching encompassing transformative workshops, mentoring, which includes ensuring our young leaders receive intensive one-to-one life coaching and support from volunteers and coaches, and a life-changing coming-of-age Rites of Passage ceremony. Today we sit down with Brother Konsu, one of 8 founders of the Manhood Academy. We discuss how the organisation was created, what positive impact it's having in a time where it's clearly needed, and what's in store for the future. This episode is truly special and one to play for your dad, your brother, your son, nephew, and friends who will no doubt find something inspirational and actionable from this episode. I know I did. So without further ado, please enjoy this special snapshot episode with the Manhood Academy.
Hi, good afternoon and welcome to For the Creators.
Greetings, Renee and Ryan, and thank you. Massive respect for having us on your show For the Creators.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to take you through a series of questions, really. It's a very conversational approach where, we just want to find out a bit more about the Academy, but starting off with you and what you do within the Academy yourself. So if you can just give our audience a little bit about Konsu. Who is Konsu? Do you work for the Academy full-time or is it something that you do part-time?
Okay. Who is Konsu? That's a loaded question. Konsu is Andre Sankofa, author of 2 books. One called Sacred Man, From Boyhood to Manhood to Divine Masculine, which is in essence a rites of passage book for boys, their families, their mothers, their fathers.
Brilliant.
I've also written another book called The Metaphysical Enigma of Tupac Shakur.
Wow.
Nice.
Which kind of started off as like just a little essay I wrote on Tupac, but then I just went so in depth into his background, his family's background as civil rights activists, and his true mission and purpose, which was clipped short. So I wrote a whole book on it.
Wow, I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, that's just one of the facets. I also work, my day job, I work in a PRU unit, pupil referral unit, with our challenged young people who have social, emotional, and mental health challenges. So it kind of functions as you go to mainstream school, and now if you get expelled, you go to a PRU unit. If you get expelled from a PRU unit, you come to our school.
Yeah.
So we deal with the extremes of our young people, and we just care them and nurture them the best way we can to function in society, hopefully, after their school years. And there's many facets to myself, but in terms of Manhood Academy, I am one of 8 co-directors, 8 co-founders, and my other comrades, my other brothers are Brother Huey, Brother Darren, shout out to Brother Kehinde, Brother Daniel, Brother Rio, Brother Davis, and Brother Albert. So we are like a super team.
Avengers.
Of specialists dealing with our young people and just focusing on the greatness of our young people. And we came about, we all knew each other working in the community in different faculties of youth work. And we'd see each other at events sometimes. Some of them, the founders I didn't know and got to know very well. But yeah, we all work and specialize in working with our youth advocacy, all the way from BAFTA award-winning educator, one of the team, in senior management in education, all the way to working on the streets of South London with our young people, our road boys, our road youth that just need some guidance. So as a collective of 8, we span the whole spectrum of working with young people, from youth workers, as I said, in education, and also on the streets of London with our young people.
Wow.
Brilliant.
And how did that come about? What was the conversation between the 8 of you to actually say, look, we need to take a stand and do something about what we see?
Or
in
did
the
it
world?
start with the 8, or was there like one founding member? And
Well, the mighty great Davis J. Williams. Just Google him and you'll see who
yeah, I
he
thought
is.
it might be Davis because I had
Davis.
because I saw a video and he was like the voice of the academy, but I wasn't sure if it was a similar approach to where you came today to represent the 8, or if we actually started with him.
Well, I specialize in media, PR, and social media, so we all have our departments. Davis is like a Ralph Javant of New Edition.
Right.
So
I met Davis. That's how I think Davis is the one who I met at the Afro Hair and Beauty Show. So he was the one who gave me the details to then get in contact with you guys to get you on the show.
He's an amazing personality, and he has many accolades to back that up in terms of awards he's won on the work that he does. So he knew all of us in some capacity, and he put a word out. Anyone interested in starting an organization to face the challenges we see every day in the news with our young people? And 8 responded.
Wow.
So in terms of how things are, we function as one unit. We function as a round table, like the Knights of the Round Table. And we forge business, and we forge the future, and we forge our vision together as one unit.
Amazing. And
that's really good.
When did this start?
It started in February 2016. So we
just
put
had your
together...
second birthday.
Exactly. And our actual launch date was October 15th, 2016, which by coincidence was the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party.
Wow, okay.
It's quite special, just by coincidence, random coincidence. But
When did
energetically,
when did you
the
realize
same
that?
day. Some weeks before, but energetically, it has some significance
Absolutely.
for us personally, you know?
For sure.
Powerful. So what would you say is the ethos of the academy? What messages and values are you trying to promote with the work that you're doing? Because I know earlier you said that you didn't want the focus to be necessarily on the negative ways that black men are portrayed in the media, but you wanted to focus more on the positive. So what is the main ethos?
Most definitely. Well, we focus on the greatness of our young people. We focus on the business of transformation of our young people. So we all know the negatives that are happening with urban youth, quote unquote, in London, but not only in London, globally, New York, etc., the world cities of this planet. And we focus on the greatness. For example, any young person, I always encourage this actually. If you see a group of young people just hanging out, maybe just say hi. You know, because a lot of our young people, I mean, I deal with them on a daily basis. They do feel that they disconnected from the rest of the community, and the energy a lot of the time is an unapproachable kind of energy. However, having a conversation with the average young person in London, the average urban young people, you find out they're highly intelligent, highly articulate, and pretty much have a good vision and sense of who they are, you know, if that's explored. Unfortunately, we have the influence of media, music, you know, the usual suspects, game consoles, super hyper violence, etc., which penetrates our young people's psyche and the way they view the world. But it really is about giving them a balance of who they are. You know,
because that's one of the things I was going to ask and actually state, because on the podcast we've been going for about 20 episodes, and I'll say probably about 6 or so of our guests have been young people that probably fall within the demographic that you you manage.
Yeah.
And they've all blown our minds with how articulate they are, how entrepreneurial they are, like how skillful they are. One we had in a couple of weeks ago, she's got a master's degree in gas and oil.
Come on.
Do you know what I mean? But then every time you turn on the television or you read in the newspapers, it's always so negative. And so one of the questions again was going to be like, are they inherently bad, or have they been demonized by the media? Because I just feel like not every young person's bad, and not every young person's unapproachable. And the thing is, we were once young.
Exactly.
So
We
we're
were
not
young
that far
once,
removed
young.
from these people that we're calling quote unquote young
Yeah.
people. So why do you think there's such a negative stigma attached to young people?
Well, most certainly. I mean, I've worked in the media for many years with some of the big media companies, and we do know drama sells. You know, drama sells. Let's be
True.
honest. Whether it's celebrity drama, youth drama, drama sells. Okay. Some of the more mundane things that people do, like, forging an entrepreneurial business at 15-year-olds is not really dramatic, not engaging, So we know that's what sells papers, and, we just have to be aware of that. So we're getting a one-dimensional perception of who our young people are.
Yes.
I wonder if sometimes we contribute to that as well as people within the community, because again, like if you look on social media, there are some people who will post, like even me personally, when I post something positive, it doesn't get as much hits or likes or shares as when you post something really silly or discriminative or violent.
Yeah.
So I think as a culture and as human beings, we're now being conditioned to actually thrive off negativity.
Yeah, it's been sensationalized.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, we live in a new millennium. We live in the era of the cult of the celebrity.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the new leadership for a lot of our young people. I mean, we're aware of this, but also we're living in the age of technology, the information age. So we're living in the age of hyper reality. So, for example, looking at a game console and playing, with all the bright colors, the engagement, the music, the sound, just totally consuming all your senses. That, in comparison to writing in a book or reading black and white words, there's no comparison,
right,
especially for our young people. So, in the era of hyper reality, how do you counteract that with bringing our people and engaging them back to the real world? Because it is, what's the word? What's the glasses?
Augmented reality.
Augmented virtual reality.
Yeah.
We're literally synergizing ourselves in the Western world into a virtual reality. And remember, a lot of us were raised in an analog world. Remember, there was a time a few years ago when it was all over TV, all on billboards were about to switch to digital. Can you remember that? Yeah, that was a physical thing, but it was also an emotional thing. Also, and it was saying we're declaring we are becoming digital in this city, I would say in predominantly world cities, all right? So you have to keep in mind our young people a lot of them don't have a concept of the analog mundane world.
True.
There was a day when if you wanted to meet your boys, you had to have 20p, go down to the phone box down the road,
phone card,
call them, right? And say, okay, I'm going to meet you in Ladbroke Grove at 7. And if you went at 7, you were left.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
Now you can walk up to your boy in Ladbroke Grove at 7, and he's like 1 foot away from you, and you're still speaking to him on the phone,
or checking the live location.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
live location. So we're in a whole different era. We are in a digital world, and we have to understand that and understand the mindset of the people, the young people that we work with.
Yeah, and
it's a whole different world to us olders.
Definitely.
But we cannot be from the perception if I don't understand these young people, what are they, even if their reality does not make sense to us, we have to connect with it and understand it. And that's the only way you'll gain trust and a rapport and a connection.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And how is Manhood Academy approaching it with regards to technology and what you were saying with the rites of passage?
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of technology, obviously we have to embrace the technological world, but also just expressing that there is a balance. There is the mundane world, okay? When you're an adult, there will be things that you have to do that you don't necessarily like doing, paying bills, etc., getting up 9 to 5, This is not hyper reality. This is the real world, all right? So we just give them a sense of self and a sense of preparation of the adult world they are to face. Because as we know, a lot of our young people become overwhelmed by the responsibilities of becoming an adult. So it's really preparation. That's one of the focuses of what we do.
Yeah.
Do you also like go into schools and promote that? Because sometimes I feel like the educational system can sometimes be far removed from reality as well, because they promote, like, you go to school, like everyone always says, you learn all these subjects that you don't apply when you leave school. So do you go into schools to bring about that more practical element of things? Because I know that a lot of schools are heading towards doing apprenticeships and things like that now, where it's a balance between the theory and the practical experience, so practical application. So is that something that you you assist with? Do you ever go into schools and run mini courses?
Yeah, more and more we're getting requests to work in schools. We are at the moment, and that will just continue to multiply as we grow as an organization. But for example, in school they teach you maths. Okay, they teach you it in a way that's totally disconnected to reality. All right. We teach entrepreneur skills. We might teach from the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manhood Academy, everything we teach is a practical application to do with life, life skills. So when schools approach us, we come from the angle of we're teaching life skills beyond education. All right, so extracurricular activities in terms of what are the skills our young people will need alongside having a good education and a solid education.
So kind of filling in the gaps.
Filling in the gaps, yeah. For example, social etiquette, how to navigate the office environment. I mean, that's totally different from chopping up with your boys in a barbershop. You know, there is a social language that you have to understand and navigate when you start the world of work. And how you go ahead.
Oh, sorry, sorry to cut you, but what is their response to that?
What's their response to that in terms of
the concept of quote unquote real world and going into like the possibility of going into a 9 to 5? Because I'm sure at that age, no one wants to think that they're going to go into that because I want to be a YouTube star, I want to play football, be a musician.
Entrepreneurship is cool these days.
Yeah, I'd start my own business.
Yep.
So how do they respond to that?
Well, you can be anything you choose to be, right? But as I said, we live in the age of the cult of celebrity, and we live in the age of hyper reality. So what's the fast track to success? Footballer, games console designer, but we say, okay, that's fantastic. But, we advocate having a plan B, first of all. And yes, of course, you can be an entrepreneur. But me personally, when I speak to the young masters, as we call them, I would say, well, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for many years. But in order for me to become an entrepreneur, I learned how to work.
Indeed.
So the structures and disciplines of going to work, getting up, delivering on certain targets, etc. But one of the things I always did, and I mean, a lot of me personally, my teaching style is just to teach my life stories, right? So when I'd work for example, some of these big media, I would not just work and go home. I would work and I would observe how management function. I would observe, okay, so how do they make these? Where do they get these orders from for the stocks they need to buy? What's their source? So I'm looking at all the angles of how the business functions, not just working for the business, but how it functions. So that supported me in building my own publishing company and my own graphic design company. And if I didn't have that knowledge from working for someone else, some people do it straight away. They go straight in. They have the skill to be an entrepreneur straight out of school. But I was advocate, work a bit, in the field, in the specialist field, gain the knowledge, and then branch off and do your own thing.
I would agree. Because also, being an entrepreneur, being a successful entrepreneur, you can't do it on your own. You have to have a team.
Exactly.
So if you don't know how to speak to a team, and navigate, you're not going to just be, hiring everyone that speaks your language. If you want to run a successful operation, you need to hire the best talent. That can be from anywhere. So you need to be able to communicate. The best way to do that is to learn how to work as part of a team, and also as a leader, no one can really pull the wool over your eyes because you've done that job and you know it from top to bottom. So I would agree with that approach, 100%.
Exactly right and exact, yeah.
Yeah.
So one question I wanted to ask you was, is there a reason why Manhood Academy wears a lot of tribal clothing and, tribal paint on the faces of the young men? Because is that sort of trying to remind them of their history and their heritage, or telling them where they came from so they can know where they're going to? Because I've always believed that if you don't know where you're from, you don't know where you're going, sort of thing. Is that part of it, or?
It is part of it, most definitely. But I just wear that jewelry every day anyway. Any of the team, any of the founding members, before we even started Man Academy, that's how we dress. But our young people are curious. They're like, what does those beads mean? What those crystals you're wearing? What are they? And we're just giving them an expanded view of things. So it's just like those things may not even be in their stream of thinking.
Yeah.
In terms of crystals, this just keeps my vibration and energy high, etc., in things I'm wearing. But we also instill a cultural sense of identity, which is very important. Who are you? Who are you? A prevalent question in Manhood Academy. So, yeah, it does stem back to who we are as a people of African origin. So we teach them about their identity in terms of where we are in London, in society, but the broader identity of who their ancestors are, which is a part of our chant. So very important. I mean, we are in the business of rites of passage. So what is rites of passage? Rites of passage is, building boys into men. Rites of passage is an ancient concept.
Yeah.
It stems thousands of years, eons, in all cultures: Chinese culture, Indian culture, European culture, and African culture. All right. Why? Because in times of ancient, we knew by the time a young person, a boy or a girl, hits adolescence, where hormones change, whole energetic fields change, their outlooks change, there is a nature of questioning and rebellion. So they knew that had to be channeled in the right direction. And if it wasn't channeled, as they say, there's a time-old saying, if you do not welcome the children into the village, they will burn it down to feel its warmth.
Wow.
So that's the concept
Powerful
of Manhood
saying.
Academy, all right?
Jeez.
And that's what's happening in essence in our society
Say that
right
again for
now
the
in
people,
2018.
please.
Yeah.
If you do not welcome or embrace the young people into the village, they will burn it down to feel its warmth.
Powerful.
All right. Did we see that a couple of years ago around London, where London was burning? Right. Remember that? So what am I saying? I'm saying the energy has to be channeled in adolescence. Okay, and if it is not, then our young people will be left to their own means. So what is rites of passage? Rites of passage is the wise elder men. Let's take the concept of a village. The wise elder men of the village taking the boys out, usually in seclusion. They were prepared for it. They would know, you know what, when you hit 12, 13, you will be taken out of the village to learn the ways of the village by your elders.
Yeah.
So they were always aware of that. And it will be a celebration. It will be something that was embraced. It would be like, okay, I will be trained to be a man at last.
That
I've
gives
come
them a
of
sense
age.
of value as well.
Sense
and
of value
a
also.
sense of community and belonging. But one of the things the reason why that topic is so poignant for us is because we were discussing it the other day, and particularly with reference to West Indians, because I feel like there's some kind of detachment from culture when you get into the West Indies. Because I know, well, I'm West Indian, and when I was growing up, I felt like our culture was more American, and it was only when I went to college and I started meeting Africans, for example, that I realised that there's an element of our culture that's fundamentally missing, because I'd never known about naming ceremonies and things like that, or even what you're mentioning now, rites of passage. And as I started like being around different cultures and being around like Turkish families, Asian families, like you said, you see the same thing being repeated, but there was just never that for, say, my brothers or my cousins or anyone I know of West Indian origin. So I'm wondering, you've got West Indian background. Was that something that you grew up with, or was it something that you learned later on that you felt it was very important to developing yourself as an individual and later on for Manhood Academy? cultural
cultural tradition through organizations that I joined when I was younger that gave me a clear insight into who I am. Before that, I was just balling, clubbing. I was in the music industry. I was wearing my pants down, Tyson parts in my eyebrows. So I was that, and there was a moment, a transformational moment. But in terms of our culture, say the analogy of West Indian and African culture, I mean, there is definitely, we see it, the analogy of it in the Black Panther movie, right, which has levels to it. But in Africa, we know historically that continent was colonized. Yeah. All right. And the ways of the colonizer were mimicked culturally. In terms of the Caribbean, we were enslaved, and the ways of the enslaver were mimicked. All right. Sure. So there was certainly a disconnect from our indigenous culture and our indigenous land and the traditions, which were pretty much stripped away from us in order for us to submit to a foreign culture. Yeah. And we have the remnants of that up to this day. So the works, there's a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by June DeGeary. Did I pronounce her name right?
We'll look that up for you guys.
Also, the Francis Cress Welsing, the late Francis Cress Welsing, the ISIS Papers, breaks down in great details the issues that you just raised in terms of who we are culturally and why we behave the way we do. Wow. Do some research, I would suggest. Definitely. On those books.
Definitely.
Very good.
Very good
insight.
Because Ryan did that for his nephew.
Yeah. Came up to the same issue where I was like, I didn't have that. You see different cultures having the kind of like the marker in the stand, your
rites of passage.
Rites of passage, that you've gone from a child into being a young man. Like in the Jewish community, they have a bar mitzvah, for example. And in the Caribbean community, at least in my experience, we didn't have that. So I was like, we didn't get to do it with my first nephew. He was like 17 or 18 when I thought we should do this. But I said to my brother and my dad, for my younger nephew, he was 11 or 12 at the time. I said, when he turns 13, let's get everyone round and just reason with him and speak and say, look, you're no longer a child. You're still you're still a youth, but let's speak to him and talk about experiences as a man. And, there's not going to be any women around. Let's get all your friends, Dad, get some of your people, some of your friends in, I'll get some of mine. So we had it was him, and he had my generation was a bit younger than my brother's, his generation, and then my dad's as well. Right. And we just had almost like a round table. And, we just spoke about different issues that he may come across and fueled him with belief and, that we've got your back. This is where you're from. Yeah. This is your pack, and realize who you are and how powerful you are, and know that you're loved as well.
So you don't need to seek that. Whom you are as well. You actually have a family and people care about you. So you don't need to go out there looking for it. Exactly that. So, I mean, that's the only opportunity we had to do that. But I thought, this should be a new tradition. Like we kind of complain that there aren't these traditions out there. But we have to be the change we want to see, which is so it's like awesome the work that you guys are doing on a like that was like a just a one evening for us on his 13th birthday. But you guys are doing it continuously for so many different young men, and it's incredible, man. Like, do you work with fathers by any chance? Because I know you mentioned that you work with a lot of women, but do you work with the dads as well? Because I know, like, for example, in the black community, a lot of young men didn't have a father figure growing up. So then they go on to have children, and they, like, if you've never seen an example of it, how can you be it yourself? So is that part of what you do as the Academy, or...?
Well, we recently had a Father's Day event where we had... I facilitated a workshop called Man Cave, and it was just fathers in the room. And that was a very rich dialogue. The first question I asked was, why do we leave? very rich conversation.
Wow.
But in essence, we know that historically, our beloved queens, as we call them, the mothers, the daughters, the sisters, they congregate and they have conversations together and they heal together.
Yes.
Men just seem to be on a daily grind, trying to figure out the world, trying to build up their families, their businesses, or whatever. And we do not congregate as frequent as our beloved sisters, mothers, parents, etc. So we do facilitate the Parenthood Academy, where we have a few fathers, predominantly mothers, but our young people do not, the parents do not drop off their young people and say, okay, bye, let me just pick up some shopping from Sainsbury's, buy a pair of Gucci shoes and I'll collect you later. Nope, they stay. All right. So the young masters go off into their room and do their session, and the parents go off into another room, and we have a dialogue about progressive parenting.
Wow.
That's really good.
That's incredible.
So it's a holistic process, you know.
That's really important, because I feel like sometimes it's like when you have two parents and you know, they're co-parenting and one parent's instilling this into the child, and then when they go over to the dad's house, it's all fun and games. So it's almost like if they come to the Manhood Academy, you're teaching them all these skills, they go home, but the mom's not aware of what they've been taught to reinforce it and promote it. Then it's not going to be effective. So that's really amazing.
Really amazing.
Well, exactly. That's where it ties into progressive parenting. For example, treats dads, right? So we can, let's go and have some fun. Let's go and get some ice cream. Let's go on a trip. No. Well, we advocate, you do that, but you also support homework. So they get another angle of education. Mom educates, dad educates differently, school educates differently. So, they get a sense of everyone's on the same page in terms of their education, for example, and home education, life education. Me and my children, we do. I mean, I'll just find something on YouTube. We'll just find a subject, Black history for children, and we'll have a dialogue about that. So,
awesome.
It's not about relying on the school to educate our young people. We also need to educate them at home, which
Everything
is very
starts
important.
at home.
Definitely.
In terms of your question about fathers, for example, I mean, that's a whole interview in itself.
Sure.
Okay. One of the things we do at Manhood Academy is we have our young masters, whether it's the 8 to 12-year-olds, which is one group on a Saturday, or the 13 to 19-year-olds, which is a more extensive rites of passage program on a Wednesday. They all write a letter to their father. And that letter is indifferent whether father's around, never met father before, father abandoned, or fathers, mom and dad married in a healthy family setting. We all ask them to write a letter to their father, because we all know of the theories of father hunger, which is a lot of the trauma that our young people are actually experiencing right now, and predominantly why, let's say, black boys, quote unquote, or boys of African origin are enacting what they're doing on the streets. Okay, that's one of the multidimensional reasons, father hunger. So looking for father in the oldest in the crew, or a negative model of a father, etc., etc. All of these are the complex intricacies of the challenges that are happening right now out there on the streets of London.
How do you think mental health plays into that?
Mental health.
Because it's something that keeps coming up over and over again whenever young people are mentioned, especially recently. So I just wondered if that's something that you you talk about and encourage them, if they have any mental health issues, to discuss that openly, or even come to you in private so you can signpost them to another organisation. Because I feel like, especially within the black community, like if you said to someone that you're going to counselling, they automatically say you're crazy. And no one wants to be told that they're crazy. And I've had counselling from when I was younger, and I've always found that it was so important and useful and helpful. So I just wondered, like, how do you deal with that within your organisation? And, have you seen a rise in mental health issues amongst young people?
Well, in terms of mental health, I mean, one of the things is I'm a trained counsellor, all right? And we know in this country, it's just the way of the British way, counseling as a stigma. It's like,
Yes.
okay, something's wrong with you. Now in America, everyone has therapy. It's just like all celebrities. It's just normal, and it's healthy because it's self-expression from someone who's non-judgmental. We know that, right? So over here, there's a bit of a stigma. So, you know, people kind of, mental health is kind of swept under the carpet. But we have to keep in mind, I always use the analogy of Black Panther. I've done a 4-hour lecture on breaking down the Black Panther movie. But let's take the analogy of Eric Killmonger in the Black Panther, right?
Yeah.
Eric Killmonger, what happened in the movie? In the start of the movie, he was playing basketball with his friends out in a ball court, you know, having fun, happy, healthy young man. And then he looks up because he senses something wrong. He looks up at his apartment. He knows something's happened. So what happened? He lost his father, right? And that created Eric Killmonger,
Yes.
right? Father hunger, etc. All the things we've spoken about. Sadness as a child, anger as an adult. We see that analogy in the Black Panther, right?
Yes.
So the sadness, remember, the statistics show predominantly in the UK, our children are the most unhappiest children on the planet. You can Google that, right? Superseding many third world countries, the UK specifically, right? Our young children are sad, they're depressed, they are stressed. All right, because we live in a toxic environment, unfortunately. Yeah. As adults, we know how to manage and navigate that. But if you're a pure vessel and you're just having all these toxic things just coming at you, negative billboards, news, you know, school, things happening at school, bullying, etc. These things have an effect on your mental health.
Sometimes I wonder how we contribute to that as parents. Not calling out my brother, but sometimes, like, my niece is very energetic and she's happy.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes I feel like we suppress that because we will say, "Oh, be quiet," or "Go over there and sit down." Why are you so happy? Why are you jumping around? I'm thinking, do they start to like absorb that, and then suddenly it makes them more cowardly, and then they start to become more introverted over time? So I feel like, do you think that's fundamental to?
Most certainly. I mean, in counseling and psychotherapeutic kind of language, it's called transference, right? So most certainly, and we teach at Parenthood Academy, as we get older, we can become more dense, more intense, more serious. What happened to the childlike aspect of you? We actually explore that in the Parenthood Academy. You know,
Lighten up.
We give them life work, right? So we'll say for the week, this is your life work. You know, just explore with your child, just doing things that are fun. You know, it doesn't have to have a specific target or anything. Just have some fun and laugh a lot and feedback to us what happened and how your relationship was that week with your child, for example, right? But in terms of mental health, we have to keep in mind that a lot of our young people are experiencing trapped emotional pain due to suppression of their communication, especially in schools, etc. They're experiencing environmental and toxic stress from where we are, right? We do not live in nature. We live in a concrete jungle, right? Yeah. And also, some of our young people actually experiencing post-traumatic stress. A lot of young people are actually seeing a lot of graphic violence towards people that they are connected to. Yeah. Okay, I've been to 16-year-old funerals. So you have to keep in mind, when there's the trauma of a young person seeing their friend get hurt or leaving this planet, if it is not dealt with in a therapeutic way, where does that go? Yeah. All right? It becomes trapped, right? So as I said, sadness as a child, anger as an adult. So if that child experienced some trauma maybe at 14 years old, what happens to them as an adult if that hasn't been healed? So there's a lot of healing to do in our community. And that's what we do at Manhood Academy, because we deal with the root causes of with our young people. We start from 8-year-olds, for example, the stuff that may surface with them in adulthood, like, where's my dad? Okay, well, let's explore that. Let's explore fatherhood. Let's explore how you feel about that. Because a lot of our young people don't have the experience, apart from maybe confiding in their mum or close family, but exploring those emotions. So they become trapped emotions. I mean, they become toxic emotions.
Yeah, because one quote that I saw is that it's very important to separate yourself from your story. Mm-hmm. And I think that is essentially what you're saying there, because your story isn't necessarily who you are. Just because your dad left you doesn't mean that now has to dictate the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And it's when you're like 10 years old, around that age, where you start to make everything mean something, and that's, you know, who you then you carry around this story with you your whole life, and
baggage,
exactly,
a bag of rocks.
There sometimes you go. Unless the story becomes comfortable. It's it's your comfort blanket.
It becomes your reality.
I can't do that because my dad wasn't around, and sometimes we use that as black people as well. Like, well, you know, I would try and get a job in a major company, but because I'm black, I'd never get the opportunity. So we use
self-limiting belief, right?
Yes.
So we use a lot of that as well, and sometimes I feel like. And I'm happy that you didn't want to talk about the negative sides of being black, because I think a lot of time we focus so much on the negative that we never see the positive sides of our culture.
The greatness.
Like, when it comes to Black History Month, why are we always talking about slavery? Because I wanted to like lift the lid on that and look at all the elements of our culture, like our spirituality, like, you know,
it's a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, there's so much.
One-dimensional.
It's a very good word.
Most certainly. But I must say, you would have an amazing conversation with one of the co-directors, Albert, a.k.a. Seven. What was it you mentioned? You coined the term, what is your...
story.
What is your story?
Yeah, you're separate from your story.
He does whole workshops. That's a theme of a lot of the things he teaches the young masters in terms of self-development. It's like, what's your story? What is your mask? What is the mask you have to wear to survive the world? So these are some of the complex subjects that we address, but in a simplified form. So we'll teach 8-year-olds and we'll teach 13 to 19-year-olds those concepts, but very simplified. The 8-year-olds, 8 to 12-year-olds, we teach them via like Marvel comics analogies, like the Lion King, for example. Right. Who are you? You know, is it Simba? Who's the Is it him? Who are you? Remember who you are. You know, so we'll play them little clips and then we'll break it down. Do you know what this means? Okay, let's have a conversation. Who are you? Where do you know? So we'll use a lot of imagery. We use Avatar, the cartoon series that has a lot of profound, messages within the light-hearted cartoon. You know? So we use parables from different elements to teach exactly what you're talking about.
I also think that as black people as well, because sometimes when you hear someone has multiple personalities, you automatically assume that that's something negative. But I feel like we all have multiple personalities and you have to. It's your armor. Because even I remember once Ryan and I were having a conversation about in terms of how we speak. And as a black person, we have multiple dialects. So my language will change depending on who I'm speaking with.
Exactly. Your tone, vibration.
Exactly.
Even your personality, how you're at work is not how you are around your sisters, right?
Exactly.
You're just hanging out.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like we're dealing with all of that constantly. Like when you go into the corporate world, you put on a persona when you're there. Whereas if like a quote-unquote Caucasian person can just almost be themselves 24/7.
24/7, exactly.
Whereas we're constantly playing different roles all the time and it becomes tiresome.
W.E. Du Bois, The Souls of Black Folk. He writes a poem called Double Consciousness, and it's about the condition of the African American. And what he's expressing is there's a war within the African American, and that essentially is people of African origin, because we have to have double consciousness. We have to sway one way and have a personality like this sometimes, and then one like this sometimes. Other cultures can just be themselves. Unfortunately, that's the environment we live in. So we need to teach our young people the tools of being able to be bilingual, mentally bilingual.
Absolutely.
Okay? As I said, how you hang out and chop it up in a barber shop is different to how you will forge business in a corporate environment. So we have to teach them that double consciousness so that it doesn't drive them totally insane. We've seen that. We've had school friends we've seen that we had fun with and good times with, and they're walking in the street barefoot, unwashed. We all have that experience, and so we've got to teach our young people how to survive this urban concrete jungle that we live in.
Give them the tools. Yeah. What's really impressive is, so the organisation is just over, what's coming up to your second anniversary, right?
Yes.
But it sounds like it's been in the works for 2
Well
decades
thought out.
because of the curriculum. How long did it take for you guys to think of the actual curriculum, or has it been a learn as you go? Eight different minds, like let's try and do this a bit better, or was it like really thought out beforehand?
Well, I mean, the culture of Manhood Academy is we're constantly upgrading,
Evolving.
and basically the basic curriculum of the Manhood Academy is the 4 elements, the 4 natural elements, which is earth, air, fire, and water. Just like in school, you'll have maths, English, music, and geography. Earth, air, fire, water. So just an outline of that is the earth element is what all our young masters start with, and that's grounding. All right? Let's ground them into who we are, who you are, who we are. Let's get to know each other. Let's put the boundaries in place, and let's put how this is going to go. So you get a sense of exactly how this program is going to go. The second element is fire, which is always a big one, and that is to deal with passion and anger, which are actually equal and opposite polarities. Anger, negative polarity; passion, positive. Anger, exploring how you manage anger. That's when the letter to the Father comes into place. Passion, what do you want to do when you're older? What's that fire? What do you want to become? What's your dreams and aspirations? So we explore that. The water element is more to do with martial arts, flow, meditation, stillness. Can you be still for 5 minutes? Are you ever still in life? Or are you always moving around, playing video games, going to school run, playing sports? Are you ever still? So we practice stillness. And the final element is ear, to do with entrepreneurship and to do with, the mindset you will need to navigate the environment into the future. So we have our curriculums and we rotate them, and it's an ongoing cycle. So we've put together a curriculum, and it's constantly evolving in terms of how the team tweaks it and how we manage things and how we upgrade.
Amazing. And so it's between 8 years old and 19?
Yeah, we have 2 groups, 8 to 12-year-olds, the young masters, and 13 to 19-year-olds, which are the older young masters.
And for someone who's listening, who's just turned 21 but really resonates with the work that you're doing, how would they get involved?
Well, we advocate. They'll go for a screening process, and we advocate them. They could volunteer.
Right.
They can come and help out,
That's good. So they get to experience the curriculum, but also mentor,
exactly,
in a way.
Exactly. Yeah. The wisdom they have at their age, they can impart upon the young people. We have one very special, he's like an honorary co-founder, brother Jermaine. How old is Jermaine? Jermaine's about 22. But some of the time, the young masters listen to him more than he listens to us. Yeah. Because he's just more connected to them.
That's right, yeah.
So he brings a whole different mindset and a whole different cluster of wisdom to our young masters, which makes it even more rich, So there's space for everyone in Manhood Academy.
And is there like a graduation process? Is there because I know you were saying about the rites of passage, and you touched upon the beginning of it. How does that manifest in terms of the journey of it? So you're taken out of the village, which is Manhood Academy. Yep. Then what?
Exactly. I mean, in our cultural rites of passage on all continents, you were taken out by the wise elder men and taught the ways of the village. For example, the wise elder men are saying, you know what, it's time for you to take over. It's time for you to protect the women and the children. Time for you to hunt. Time for you to maintain the village. We don't live in a jungle anymore or a village, but we do live in an urban concrete jungle, right? So what are the skills you need to survive the urban concrete jungle? You need social etiquette. You need emotional intelligence. You need to know how to navigate different environments. You need to know how to care for your family, your mother and your father. You're grown now. Mom ain't taking care of you. Now you're 13. You're gradually taking care of moms. How do you do that? Okay, well, you got to learn how to cook a little dish. You got to learn the discipline of maintaining the house alongside mum. So she's not doing everything for you now. Them days are gone. All right? So we're teaching them the skills how to survive the urban concrete jungle into their manhood.
So what happens when you get to the end of Manhood Academy? So what's the age? Is it 19?
19, yeah.
So when you become 19, what happens? Because you've had this family that supported you from you were 8 years old.
Yeah.
You're now 19 and you're just left to the wolves. What happens then? Because then that's a fundamental part of who you are. Like you're an adult and
Yep.
you're thrown into it because you've been built up to this point. You know, this is what's going to happen when you get out into the real world, and now you're in the real world. It's almost like, here you go, bye, see you later. What happens then for that individual?
Well, we know education is nothing without application, right? You can have a master's degree if you're not working and making money from your master's degree and contributing to a company or yourself. What was the point of it?
Yeah.
So obviously, when they graduate, then it's an eternal cycle. So they just come into the expanded stream of Manhood Academy in terms of they're the one who are teaching the younger ones now.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So they'll come and support on a Saturday with the 8 to 12-year-olds, and they'll still be around us. They'll still be, they'll still be absorbing the impressionability that we have to impart upon them. So the young masters and their families who choose to stick around, some just say, okay, we graduated, thank you. We're going to take it from here, thank you. Some and others stick around. They've been there since the beginning and they're still there. And those young people, we take them out sometimes. One of the directors who may have a strong connection might take them, just bowling or something, take a movie, have a conversation in a mentoring capacity. But we also do one-on-one mentoring as part of our service also with individuals or parents that feel that their son needs, more of a personalized wisdom.
Yeah. Okay. And for parents that are listening that have identified that their son would be perfect for Manhood Academy, how do they get involved? How do they get in touch?
Very simple. Social media predominantly. And all you need to do is type in on your smartphone, on your computer, Manhood Academy.
Yep.
And do you have, because obviously classrooms are only so big, so do you have a limit to the amount of students that you accept during the year?
There has been times where we've split rooms. So we've had 2 rooms and 2 facilitators in both rooms. But we try and embrace everybody. We don't want to turn anyone down. Sorry, we're full. It doesn't work like that. Or they'll just join on the next cycle.
Right.
But we always like to keep anyone who comes to our doors welcome and involved in some capacity.
Incredible.
So what if I'm a young man and I've listened to this podcast, but I'm based in Manchester? Do you offer any online support or anything like that? Some form of outreach, or do you have maybe live conversations that they can partake in, like maybe on your social forums or whatever? Is there any support out there for them, or do you signpost them to organizations in their area that's doing something similar?
Well, we do refer also because one thing about Manhood Academy is we don't work. We're used to, in this society, we used to working individually. But what we say is, we're in North London, but also you got Origin Rites of Passage in South London, Lambeth North. You've got the West Side Young Leaders Academy in Northwest London. So if you're from that area, we'll refer them to there because we all work together. We're all comrades in the same field. So we're not like, okay, we're the
only ones doing it.
Let's not mention anyone else. No, These are our brothers and comrades. We see them all the time at different events. We did a joint Father's Day event together last month. So we work holistically with the community in terms of what we do. But interestingly enough, you mentioned Manchester, because we were just in Manchester.
Oh, wow.
Manhood Academy will be coming to Manchester very soon because
awesome.
Some of the team went down there and we did a little taster workshop in Manchester. But there's been a high demand. And when I say high demand, I'm talking Manchester, Luton, Birmingham, Liverpool, North, South, East, West London.
That's the thing about social media. It's an open platform.
Social
media. It makes you look almost bigger than you are.
I haven't finished though. We're talking about
America,
Africa, New York, Canada.
That's beautiful, man.
Australia, Kenya, etc.
I was gonna ask
people
that.
have reached out to us globally, so we're playing a big game.
Good.
In
I was going to
terms
ask
of our expansion.
what the vision was because this is so important. So important, and it's almost like this needs to be everywhere yesterday.
Right.
Not even yesterday, like back in the day.
There's a high demand, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, our vision, just to give you a taster, is that the Womanhood Academy for Girls will be launching soon. We have a super team of highly skilled sisters who are going to be launching that very soon. We had a launch event, and that's in the pipeline. We come under the umbrella company of the Lifehood Academy. So the ultimate vision that was coined in 2016 is the Manhood Academy Center for Transformation.
Love it.
Amazing.
Love
We
it.
even had a building drawn up of how it would look with a massive logo on the front.
Yeah.
So that's the
Vision board.
end vision has been created, and we're stepping towards that.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And any way we can help, let us know, because we both
We
believe in
want
the
to be a
vision.
part of it.
Definitely.
Most definitely. All are
Definitely.
welcome. We're one family.
Absolutely. No, it's really, really good. Would love to get involved.
Okay.
There's nothing else to say.
Well, let's talk.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Our numbers are in our smartphones, but there's one thing I have to mention, and that is, I'll be in trouble if I don't. How can I forget this? We are bringing our 13 to 19-year-olds to Gambia in December.
Wow.
Amazing.
Okay, so I've never heard of it done in this country. In fact, I haven't heard of it done. It probably has been done. But we're taking them. So in terms of rites of passage, let's not forget indigenous cultural rites of passage. So we're taking their graduation and their transition into manhood. The final chapter will be in Gambia.
Amazing.
All right, because one of the co-founders, Brother Huey, he does Gambia tours, which is great. So we're going to take him out to Gambia, where they will be doing some intense training on what it is to be a man, and they will be coming back to the community, back to London, where we will all celebrate their transition from boyhood to manhood. And you're most welcome for the graduation.
Come
Beautiful.
down. Amazing.
Beautiful. Love the work. Love the mission. Love everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank
you so
you
much.
for
It's
honouring
needed.
us.
It's needed. And yeah, thank you for trusting us with this, with your story and being so open.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, and I have to say, to get in contact with us, first of all, we are raising funds for that Gambia initiatives. So if anyone wants to contribute and donate, we have a GoFundMe page. It's GoFundMe Protect Our Boys. So
Love
if you
it.
key that in, Protect Our Boys, you'll find us, or Manhood Academy, Protect Our Boys, GoFundMe. If you type that in, you'll find us if you want to donate
do you have a
£5,
website?
£100. We do have a website, which is manhoodacademy.co.uk.
Great.
And you'll find us hanging out on Instagram predominantly, Manhood Academy for Boys, Instagram and Facebook. And we upload on a regular basis. We upload the sessions we do, we upload the events we do, and we upload when we're just chopping it up and just being silly.
Oh, you're on YouTube as well,
etc.
right?
We have a YouTube channel also, Manhood Academy. So if you want to get a sense of who we are, I'd advocate going to our Instagram. We have little video clips of what we do in Manhood Academy and outside of Manhood Academy.
That's how I stumbled on you guys in
That's
the first
how
place.
I found you too.
Yeah.
Instagram is the plug.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of your videos went viral, I think. I don't know who posted it, but I remember seeing it, and it was the young masters declaring who they are.
Right.
And I looked at it and I was like, wow. Because I've done courses like that, but not in the black community specifically. So it was like, that was so powerful to me to see that, because like you were saying earlier, you don't see that. You only see like ballied up youth on screens, you know what I mean?
Right.
So thank you for showing that balance, you know. Thank you for showing and giving that love to the young men out there.
Thank you for being the change that you want to see in the world.
Be the change you wish to see in the world, Gandhi.
Because I think that's one of the first things I said to you when I spoke to you on the phone, because a lot of us talk about the problems in the community, but no one's willing to stand, well, I shouldn't say no one, but not many of us are willing to stand up and actually try to find the root cause of it
And
all
the
and
solutions.
deal with it. You know? So thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Absolute pleasure.
We can sit here and talk to you for the rest of the evening.
Yes.
You know, so inspiring and so motivational. But yeah, guys, thank you so much listening to another episode of For the Creators podcast Snapshot. Hope you enjoyed this one. If you'd like to see us doing more of these type of episodes as well, please let us know. As usual, Ryan, what should they do?
As usual, review us 5 stars, please. Write a good note as well if you can. Share it with other people that you think will like these episodes. You can email us on forthecreatorsshow@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram, For the Creators Podcast. It's not your average Instagram profile. You're going to get a daily creative snapshot on there every day. Follow us on Twitter. That's _the creators. And we'll be hitting up the other platforms soon. In terms of listening to this podcast, you can hear it everywhere now, including Spotify. So all good.
For the Creators. Put it in your smartphone. Hashtag For the Creators, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please save it in your smartphone. It's a phenomenal platform, giving organizations like the Manhood Academy an outlet to express who they are and what we do. Thank you so much.
Jingle.
Love it. Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Consi.
Thank you, man.